Hi, K-pop lovers. Welcome back to the channel. If you've ever wondered what happens when a single lyric accidentally reopens one of the most painful conversations in a fandom, stay with me until the end, because this one got really uncomfortable really fast. Before we dive in, smash that like button, drop a comment with your honest reaction, share this with every MONSTIEZ you know, and subscribe if you're new here, because this story has layers you probably haven't heard yet. It all starts with Ahyeon, BABYMONSTER's third mini-album, which dropped on May 4th, 2026, and immediately became their biggest commercial moment yet, reportedly moving over 387,000 copies in a single day and sending the music video straight to #1 on YouTube's trending charts. On paper, it's a victory lap. A group that debuted with 7 members, lost one to an indefinite health hiatus, and somehow turned that absence into one of the most quoted lines of the entire era. Because buried inside the song's chorus, sung together by Asa, Rora, Ahyeon and Chiquita, is this line, "Yeah, I know we're 7, but we 8. On the surface, it sounds like swagger, confidence, a flex. But fans immediately understood exactly what it meant, and exactly who it was about. It was a direct acknowledgement of Rami's absence, wrapped inside a celebration of the group still dominating without her. Some fans loved it, calling it a tribute. Others felt something heavier sitting underneath those words, because acknowledging an absence in a lyric is very different from actually addressing it as people. And that's exactly the tension that exploded just 11 days later. On May 15th, BABYMONSTER held video call fan events to promote Ahyeon, the same comeback that gave us that lyric. These fan calls are usually lighthearted, quick, almost ceremonial. A few seconds of connection, a wave, a smile, next caller. But during Pharita's individual fan call, one fan decided to ask the question that so many MONSTIEZ have been desperate to ask for an entire year. The fan told Pharita that everyone missed Rami, but admitted they weren't even sure if Pharita would be allowed to answer. And what happened next is the moment that's been replaying across timelines ever since. Pharita's face changed. You could see her hesitate. And then she said, almost gently, almost apologetically, "Ah, we miss her too. I can't say I don't think I can say anything, sorry." 5 seconds. That's all it took for an entire fandom to erupt into a conversation that had been quietly building for months. Now here's where you really need to pay attention, because the reaction to this wasn't simple, and it definitely wasn't one-sided. A huge wave of fans turned their frustration not toward Pharita, but toward YG Entertainment itself. The thinking was simple: if a member can't even say, "I miss her, I hope she's okay," without looking visibly uncomfortable on camera, then something about how this situation is being handled isn't right. People started asking the obvious question. Why does an idol need permission to express something as basic as missing a friend? Why has it been an entire year since Rami's hiatus began, with barely any real updates from the company, leaving members boxed into careful, rehearsed non-answers? At the same time, a different group of fans pushed back just as hard, arguing that Pharita shouldn't have been put in that position at all. Their argument was that asking a current member to comment on another member's medical hiatus, on camera, in real time, during a comeback promotion, is simply unfair to the member answering. One fan wrote online, asking everyone to protect Pharita's feelings during her fan calls, pointing out that she looked visibly awkward specifically because of company restrictions, and asking the community to make her fan calls a safer space going forward. So now you've got two camps. One blaming the silence. One protecting the member stuck delivering that silence. And both of them are talking about the same 5-second clip. But stay with me, because this isn't even the first time Pharita specifically has ended up being the one fans turn to when they want answers about Rami. Rewind back to October 11th, 2025, during a fan sign event for their EP We Go Up. A fan asked Pharita directly about Rami's condition. At that point, Rami had already sat out 2 full comebacks and 1 tour because of her hiatus, which YG Entertainment had only ever described in the vaguest terms, saying her health issues had been ongoing for a long time and hadn't improved despite treatment. Pharita gave fans what felt like a real update that day, something warmer than what we saw in May. So when this new fan call moment happened 7 months later, and the answer suddenly became guarded and careful again, It didn't read as random to fans. It read as a shift. Something had changed in what members were allowed to say, or comfortable saying, and that shift is exactly what reignited the anxiety. And if you think that's where the story ends, it doesn't, because this entire timeline sits on top of an even bigger pattern that's made fans deeply uneasy. Long before CHOLM, long before this fan call, eagle-eyed MONSTIEZ had already noticed something unsettling in the group's own official content. In behind-the-scenes footage shared on BABYMONSTER's channel, fans spotted that in certain throwback clips, Rami appeared to be missing or even blurred out, despite clearly having been present during the original filming. That detail alone sparked outrage, with some fans drawing comparisons to other idols who quietly disappeared from group content before eventually leaving their group altogether for good. Nobody is claiming that's what's happening here, but you can see why. When you stack the blurred footage, the careful company silence, the missed comebacks, the missed world tour, and now this hesitant 5-second answer from Pharita, all on top of each other, fans aren't just reacting to one moment. They're reacting to an entire pattern that keeps repeating itself every few months. This is the part where I want you to really think about what it's like to be a fan in this position. You love a group of 7 people. You've watched 6 of them grow, evolve, headline world tours, sell out arenas, and casually drop a chart-topping lyric that's basically a confident wink about surviving without their 7th member. And somewhere in the middle of all that success, there's this quiet, constant ache, because the 7th member is still out there, still loved, still missed, and still essentially unreachable through anything more than vague company statements and the occasional careful word from her group mates. That's an emotionally exhausting position to be in as a fan. You're proud and worried at the exact same time, and every single comeback becomes a reminder of both. And honestly, that's probably why this particular clip hit as hard as it did. It wasn't really about Pharita saying something wrong, because she didn't. If anything, what she said was kind. Careful, yes, but kind. The real issue fans are pointing to is the system around her, the one that makes a simple sentence like, "I miss her," feel like something that needs clearance first. When a fanbase has to read between the lines of a 5-second answer just to gauge whether their favorite idol is okay, that tells you everything about how much information they're actually being given. So, where does this leave things right now? As of this moment, there's still no official update from YG Entertainment beyond the original hiatus announcement. No timeline, no health details. Nothing concrete about whether Rami is preparing to return or quietly transitioning away from active promotions. What we do have is a fandom split between anger at the silence and protectiveness over the members forced to navigate that silence in real time, all triggered by a single lyric in a song about confidence and a single hesitant answer in a fan call about loss. 2 completely different moments, same comeback era, same unresolved question hanging over all of it. If this video gave you some context you didn't have before, or even just made you feel something about this whole situation, let me know exactly how you feel down in the comments, because this fandom clearly has a lot to say. Hit that like button if you want more breakdowns like this one, share it with anyone who's been confused about what's actually going on with Rami, and subscribe so you don't miss the moment we finally get real answers. Until then, stay close, MONSTIEZ, because this story is far from over. Ahyeon.